Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the second season of this brilliant car design podcast called Unfiltered. We talk primarily to car designers and people that make up the car design space, such as modelers, designers, visualization artists, but we also speak to people on the fringes, people in tech, people in other disciplines of design, whether it be sneakers, boats. We have yet to speak to architects, people within that realm, but a broad spectrum of people, should we say. Entrepreneurs, independent artists as well, the whole shebang. Deeply rooted in car design. So I need to clarify that because I don't want you saying that this is not the real shit, because it is. Anyway, my guest today is a young man, and a very bright young man, called Jordan Taylor. I don't know how old he is, but I think he might be about 12. No, he's not. He's about 25, I think, but maybe 26. But he's young as shit. He's super young, but so clever. I've never felt so stupid in all my life speaking to this guy. This is the second time I've spoken to him, actually, and the reason why I wanted to speak to him today, again, a year later, is because he touched on the subject of NFTs more than a year ago, and I was completely unaware of what he was talking about, and I totally just brushed over, and I was like, oh, that's super nice. And of course now, everyone and their grandmother are minting NFTs. So Jordan is, he studied at CCS to become a car designer, and he displayed all the right attributes, working hard, super smart, but he was also super creative, make no mistake. Got a job at Honda and worked in their advanced design studio, and I believe the production studio as well. Not very long, maybe a year or two. So, he doesn't proclaim to be some big dick Giugiaro or anything like that. But he quickly realized that he needed something else and something was missing for him. So he then went to Nvidia. And the reason for that being is that he also has got this strong aptitude for coding and robotics and building stuff. And the guy's an operator. I mean, you can see, like, when you look at him, even when he's not saying anything, shit's working around in his head in real, on another level. He's got like this, I don't want to say Elon Musk quality, but you can see like there's next level shit happening in that guy's brain. Anyway, so he went to Nvidia, and in parallel to that, he was meeting up with people online. That sounds terrible, but he co-founded Vizcom with some gentlemen that he befriended online. There was a synergy between their skill set and what they wanted to do, and so Vizcom, this AI sketching and rendering tool, was being built in the background, and now it's like a full-on legit startup. Like, they've got funding and everything. So he's quit Nvidia and he's doing Vizcom full-time. And so we were talking primarily about NFT stuff, asking him about that because he actually knows a little bit about that, quite a lot about it. And then also like AI and Vizcom and what they're doing there, and how the robots are not going to be taking our jobs anytime soon, all that sort of stuff, pros, cons, etc., etc. And I also need to highlight as well, I think it's obvious, but he is the, I don't want to say co-founder, but the starter. Designerspen on Instagram is his account, which, by the way, was never ever supposed to be anything serious. And he's casually just amassed a following of, 70,000+ people, which is just kind of something that has grown into this monster. But it initially started out as a documentation process of the degree shows at both Art Center and CCS, because there was nobody at that. I say at that time, it was only 5 minutes ago in in dinosaur terms, but to Jordan, it was a long time ago. So when he was studying, there was this intrigue in what the other universities were doing, and he took it upon himself to document that through Instagram, which was the genesis of Designerspen. Anyway, it's neither here nor there, and as per usual, I'm talking too much and I'm rambling and I'm boring as shit. I need to put a disclaimer as well. On this day, when we recorded, I locked all my filming stuff in the basement and I couldn't get it. So the quality is not brilliant. It was straight out of the laptop. I have to apologize, but content is king. I believe the substance will make up for it. I think it's happened. Yeah, it's happened once before. It might have happened another time. I have to apologize for it. You can't nail it every single time. But I promise you, discussion was great. And listen to Jordan. Are you like working all the hours that God sends?
I try to take some breaks, obviously, but yeah, I work like pretty much every day, except for on a Sunday. Sometimes I'll try to like take a break, but I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty much working every day. But to me, it doesn't feel like work, you know? It's just like, I don't know, just like playing.
I totally get that. But, you know, the problem, you know, once you found your passion and you kind of get lost in it, the problem with that is that, actually, it's not you, it's the people around you, you know, like,
Oh my gosh.
I don't know, wives, girlfriends,
Yeah.
and in my case, kids as well. So,
Oh yeah.
like, how do you balance, or like, I mean, are you constantly asking for extra time or forgiveness, or how does that work?
Oh yeah, a lot of forgiveness and understanding, you know, because it's hard to like, I guess not everyone has that kind of thing, I guess, so it's hard to like, you know, communicate it. But yeah, it's definitely a balancing act. There's I found, you know, even when I was like working in the car design world, it's like you think putting in an extra few hours will make the impact, but then you realize it's like I just gotta be more efficient with my time, maybe. So learning how to be efficient with my time has been like the main thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's so fucking true. Do you follow what's his name? Lex Friedman. Do you know who that is?
Lex Friedman podcast. Yeah, I love that guy.
Dude, I was just listening to an episode of his where he was talking about his daily routine. Uh-huh. And he was and like, which is pretty mental, but then he talks about like his 4 hours of like deep productive work.
Oh yeah.
And that really hit home with me, because he's like, he won't open up a browser, he won't do anything, like he makes sure that he is like totally focused on the task at hand.
Yeah. That's like so key, like, because you can only truly be like in flow for like X amount of time. You know, like when you're sketching or something, you're like in flow. Like you almost forget you even own a phone, and like nothing else matters. You're like super deep into thought. That happens for me, like I would say, yeah, around 1 p.m. to like 6 is when I'm like the most productive. But yeah, a lot of stuff happens in just like 4 to 5 hours. The rest is kind of like, I'm like on Twitter and YouTube and like Instagram. It's like, it's so hard to get really focused, you know? So it totally resonates with me as well.
Are you able to sit down and then immediately just get in the zone, or does it take some time?
Oh no, it definitely takes some time. My mornings are pretty slow boot ups, I would say. Unless I have like a call or like a meeting set and like a pretty strict schedule, it's like pretty slow start for me, honestly. I'm not like a robot like some people may think, but it definitely, I like struggle. I definitely like take naps. Naps are really good. I like naps. New discovered like phenomenon that I've been missing out on all these years.
Like what are we talking about? Like 20 minutes or 10?
Yeah, like 20-minute, 30-minute nap.
Yeah.
It feels like you started another day sometimes. It's amazing.
It's pretty mad. Yeah. The only danger with that is if you let it go on too long, and then you get into like the wrong you wake up at the wrong point of your sleep cycle. But I think, dude, I've had that as well. It's amazing. Like if you can nail that 20 minutes, it makes a huge difference.
Huge difference. It's like literally night and day. It's amazing. I love naps.
And Jordan, are you still doing the day job?
No. I'm working on Vizcom full time.
Oh shit! So you're not at Nvidia anymore?
No. I left Nvidia like 6 months ago, 7 months ago,
Oh wow! I
and
had
then I
no
just
idea.
yeah. So we've been building Vizcom full time, growing a team, securing venture capital, and yeah, like try to like build a startup and everything. Yeah.
Oh my god! Wow! How many people are there?
There's four of us right now, full time. Yeah. Three of them work out of my living room, and then the other guy's remote.
And you guys have obviously got some sort of funding in place.
Yeah. We're backed by a venture capital firm out here called Basis Set, and they invest in AI-driven startups that automate workflows. That's
Oh
like their
my!
thesis is like
Wow!
workflow automation.
Dude, I had no idea. Like this is obviously all going to be about NFTs, but I guess you've got to talk about that a little bit as well. So, like,
Yeah, for sure.
what is the latest? What is the latest with you guys at the moment?
Yeah. So right now we're trying to build a really core, strong team to because we're working on like artificial intelligence and computer web graphics, and these are two very deep fields of engineering that require like super talented people. So building that core team is really important. And yeah, we're really focused on our Brush Studio application, which allows people to draw 2D drawings and then see those renderings come to life in real time as they're drawing it, so they don't have to like go into Photoshop and like lasso things and like know where the lighting's coming from, et cetera, et cetera. Our
Yeah,
AI just does all that for you while you're
yeah.
drawing. And then yeah, we're trying to like secure a few enterprise clients right now that are like smaller studios. I can't really say who yet, but working on that. And yeah, just trying to like get the product out there and secure a really solid team. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Learning a lot of random stuff too. Like you got to wear a lot of hats in this journey.
I think especially in the beginning, right? Especially when the team is so small, because
Yeah.
you've got to do like there's a lot of things to be done, and you can't just delegate it to everybody. A lot of the things you've got to kind of take responsibility for yourself.
Yep. Of course. Like you gotta like sometimes I'm like coding, and then sometimes I'm like focused on like the design, like the product design, and then like there's like managing things and like payroll. There's a lot of random stuff that I like. Once the problem shows itself, you just gotta like figure it out. Luckily, we have YouTube these days. You can just YouTube like just about anything.
Dude, it's pretty insane. I was talking to somebody about that today, and it's mental. Like absolutely anything from fixing a car to like I don't know, coding a fucking an app. It's pretty
Yeah,
impressive. It's pretty
yeah,
crazy.
totally. It's been super helpful for this, and if you have the right people around you as well, you can just learn from each other. Like when I was in school, I would always try to surround myself with like a lot of the Korean students that were like amazing at sketching, and like try to like learn from them. So it's
Yeah.
kind of the same situation. I try to like hire people that are like way smarter than me, and I just like learn from them.
Is that possible? You fucking pretty crazy
Oh
intelligent,
God.
dude.
Oh no. There's some really smart people out here that are just like way beyond like what I could imagine sometimes.
So who are the other guys in your team? Like what sort of roles are they doing?
Yeah. So we have a machine learning researcher. Her name's Jocelyn. And then we have Kalen Richards. He's my co-founder. I've known him since middle school. He's like kind of like the CTO lead engineer guy. And then we have Velko, who just started on Monday. He's
Sorry,
kind of like our
one second. The
yeah
CTO lead guy. What is he doing? Like,
yeah. So he works on like anything technical, mainly the web app right now. So right now, this is like a web-based application called Vizcom.
yes.
It's Vizcom, yeah. So and he focuses on like the architecture and like what kind of like what we'll need to actually make things happen, and like leading an engineer to help him with tasks, and like a very technical guy, super
Okay.
technical.
Okay. And the AI deep learning Jocelyn, the
Yeah,
researcher, what is she doing? What is she
yeah. So she
researching?
does like a lot of really crazy like math stuff and like things training the artificial intelligence, figuring out how we can actually apply a lot of our machine learning models to the real world applications that we're trying to solve. And she just basically, goes into the neural networks, figure out what's happening in there, formatting it correctly. Anything involving the artificial intelligence, Jocelyn's like key. She like she's very key to the development of a lot of this.
So also a super technical person.
Yeah, very technical. I'm like the only like art creative like person.
And who else is there? There's a fourth person as well.
Yeah, his name's Velko. Super young guy. These guys are all like under the age of 24 as well, by the way. They're like super young, really smart. Velko, he dropped out of college at 19 to go work at a startup called Veed, and they were building a in-browser video editing program. And he recently left at the age of 22 to join us as one of our first founding engineers. He grew a team from like 3 engineers to 80. And like, so he's like very like familiar of what it takes to go from like small to like big. And like, he's like super helpful for like putting the systems in place that you'd need before you scale. And like, very helpful guy, super young too. Loves Minecraft.
How did you rope him into it?
So we have like a careers page, and he was just one of the applicants. You know, we had to do like our due diligence to really cipher through all the bad applicants and like to make sure who's who. And then we reached out to his previous company, their founders, and they were like, oh yeah, Velko's great. Like, we're sad to let him go, but like, he's a great engineer. We did our background checks properly, and and he was like, great fit so far.
And what do you have to offer somebody like that? I mean, you don't have to go into details, but like, you know, is it a competitive salary? Is it stock options? Is it both?
Yeah.
Or is it just the opportunity to be part of something amazing?
Right. It's definitely it's a balancing act. You know, it's like, one, the compensation, of course, has to be relatively compelling, equity, etc. But then it's really like the excitement of the vision and the product itself. Like, you can either, you know, do you want to work for an old legacy company thing solving 0.001% of a bigger problem, or do you want to own massive problem and be a part of the future? And some people, that's an easy sell.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, you blow my mind. You absolutely blow my mind. I feel so stupid.
No. It's fine. Like, I love talking about this stuff. It's so fun.
Dude, it's absolutely insane. So, Jordan, can you just talk a little bit about some of the applications or commercial applications that you can foresee Vizcom endeavoring in the future? Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of research on this right now. We're very close. So 2D to 3D is kind of the next, you know, I want to say killer application, like a big thing that we're working on, where imagine you're drawing a sketch, and then in real time, you can see the mesh forming of that sketch. This kind of skips the whole like 3D modeling phase. It doesn't skip it, but it gives you a rough 3D estimation of what your drawing would have looked like before you like draw all these views and try to build it in Blender. And then you realize, I don't like it. You can get that view right from the sketch. So that's kind of like the next commercial level application that we're working on right now. That's I think gonna be pretty cool.
So, okay, so those are 2 different products that you've got, but like what sort of like commercial where's the, I mean, there's obviously a ton of commercial applications, but what do you guys see? What is your business model going to be in the future?
Yeah, I mean, very similar to like, we're trying to be like the future Adobe in a way, where you know, you have like a suite of creative tools that solve particular problems in your workflow. You get the licenses for all of them. But essentially, we're trying to, our thesis is just basically applying artificial intelligence to accelerate creative workflows, which goes all the way to music, all the way to art. Like, there's a lot of things you could consider art. So yeah, we're basically, you know, trying to shorten the distance between having an idea and bringing it to life. That's kind of like what everything we do, like we try to speak that into existence a lot with a lot of our tools. And yeah, kind of like an Adobe type thing, but like with AI.
So are you looking at other industries as well, like music, for example?
Yeah, totally. That's a really interesting space where like, right now, since we're so small, we don't have like a lot of crazy resources. We just got a supercomputer that I had to like get a new outlet installed in my house because it takes too much wattage. Like, I know in Europe you guys have like certain wall outlets that are like, we only have like one outlet per house that has like, they use your dryer for usually. But like I had to like get a new outlet installed for this supercomputer because it takes too many watts. So anyways, I just went like a huge tangent there, but like, since we're such like a small team, to answer your question about the other industries, we have to be very focused and concentrated on like what we spend our resources on.
Yeah.
Because if we want to do like R&D, we can't do like serious R&D like you would see at a big company where they can afford to like, if it doesn't go in production, it's fine. If we don't make money from this, it's fine.
No, everything has to be like focused, and there has to be
there has to be a very clear intent behind why we're doing something.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what is the first step then? Is it to nail these two? Is it these two tools specifically?
Yeah. Right now we're focused on just like 2 tools right now, which is the 2D to 3D one is kind of like it's happening in the background as we speak. But the 2 main tools right now that we're currently like we have deployed and we're maintaining is Sketch to Render, and then Generator, which allows you to generate art inspiration to like start as like the first step in your creative process.
So the last time I spoke to you about the idea generator, you alluded to the fact that it was kind of like you almost had to dumb it down because you didn't want to scare everybody. Have you turned the notch up on that yet, or are you still maintaining a thesis?
No, it's still relatively abstract, because like a lot of artists, what they communicated to us, like when a lot of feedback we got is like, oh man, like you lose a sense of authorship if you get a pretty finished art piece from a piece of, like from AI, right? You kind of like lose that sense of like, well, like what did I do exactly to get this? So the next thing we're implementing right now that Jocelyn's been working really hard on is the ability to kind of like modify certain parameters about the image. So say if like the orientation, the height, the width, the length, the color, the size of the wheels, like it'll be kind of more of like a creative experience with these generated images instead of like generating, saving it, I'm done, generating, saving it, I'm done. It's like, it's a new way to create stuff. Yeah. It's gonna be pretty cool.
I was speaking to Scott Robertson the other day.
Oh yeah.
And he said that he's been helping out quite a bit as well with you guys.
Dude, yeah, Scott is amazing. Like, we'll like get on calls with Scott Robertson all the time, and like, he has years of experience with making drawings and just like being a designer. And he literally made the book How to Draw. So it's like we take a lot of the stuff he says to heart and try to listen very closely. Of like, he's the one that really brought up the authorship thing to us. He's like, guys, be careful when you're implementing like AI into creative workflows because you don't want to like scare people. And one way to not do that is to make sure you keep that sense of authorship throughout the whole process. Because that's what makes us feel great when we make stuff. It's like, oh, I did this. Like, this is my creation. Like,
Right.
So that's something we definitely want to keep throughout all of our tools. Definitely. Yeah.
I still haven't played with this yet because I don't have any time at all, but I
No
need
worries.
to. But no. But he was talking about this app where you basically just type in words and then it starts generating images. And he said he's like totally addicted to it.
Yeah. It's called Wombo Art. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yep. That one's really cool. It's pretty insane that you can even do that. Last time we talked, I was saying that was a concept, but like now it's real. You can just, the poets of the future are the new artists, maybe. It's an interesting tool and direction that what it means to be an artist is being redefined in front of our eyes. Yeah.
Do you think that, like, obviously designers and creators in general feel pretty threatened by it, and it's understandable. I mean, do you think there's reason to be threatened by it, to feel threatened by it?
No, I personally don't think so. It's like people had this same kind of sentiment when Alias came out in like 3D modeling tools. Like drafters were like, oh, this is going to kill the process. Like it's just another tool within the wheelhouse of other tools. Like when Pixar first made Toy Story, that was the first 3D feature length film, and 2D animators were like, oh my gosh, like this is going to kill what it means to make animated movies. But no, it was just another tool. 2D movies still exist. 2D mediums still exist. It was just another avenue to express your thoughts and ideas.
Right.
And I think that's kind of like what this all is. Anyone that's kind of like scared it's going to replace them maybe has other things to worry about. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy time now. And as you said, like everything is literally being redefined in front of our eyes, and the whole, like I feel like such an idiot, but like, I sent you a message a few months ago saying like, oh shit, you were talking about NFTs, and I just completely glossed over it in the last conversation that we had, which it was a while ago now. But
yeah.
I didn't
I remember that.
I was like, oh, that's great, and kind of moved on to it, And
yeah, no, I remember that for sure. Like, I don't remember where I was when that interview happened, but I remember that. That was cool. I really liked that conversation.
Well, dude, on the subject of that, like obviously, I mean, you a lot more clued up on it than I am, and I think that in the last 6 months specifically, like it's become a word in everybody's mind. Like I get asked about it all the time, and I think that with that, like there's so many different levels to this that I think people are generally overlooking, and like I've seen a lot of designers go like, oh fuck, I'm just going to create NFTs now, and they've gone and like done a rendering of an existing Porsche and put it in OpenSea and think like, oh, I'm going to get fucking rich out of this. But there's a whole smart contract element to it that like is just being overlooked.
No, the NFT space is very interesting. It kind of came out of nowhere, right? I mean, so to go back, there was 3 years ago, like 2018, 2017 time, there was these things called crypto kitties, and they were like these collectible kittens. NFTs didn't really take off, but now, it's. I think NFTs are very cool because it's another avenue, I guess, for artists to make money from their work versus you no longer have the starving artists, I guess. I guess it also truly matters what you're in from the creator standpoint of NFTs. It really matters like what's your intent. Like, are you trying to tell a story? Are you trying to just simply make a quick buck, which is very hard. It's not as simple as drawing an existing Porsche and then like putting it up and hoping like someone buys it. Some of these people are buying these things more so for the artists than the actual art piece. Similar to like a Banksy piece or like a Andy Warhol piece. It's about the artist more so than the artwork sometimes. Still.
Well, I think that's definitely something that is totally being overlooked, and I think like there was, so after we spoke, like I started going into the deep dive on it, and I discovered there was like a whole trash art movement where, like, do you know what Photomosh is?
Photomosh, like Photobash, or?
There's a website called Photomosh, and basically what it is, it's like a really extreme. It's almost like this Woomba thing that we were talking about, but it's like you take an image. It's a site, and it's like it's super extreme Instagram filter almost. You put an image into it, and it can make like really simple GIFs, or it can completely warp it and change it. And there was like a trash art movement where like guys were literally going onto Amazon, for example, and Googling and searching like wheelie bin, screenshotting that, throwing it into Photomosh, and then it creates an animation. They would mint that and put it onto their onto OpenSea, for example. But so there was like a whole movement of that, and people were making like there were guys that, and they were transparent about it. Guys were like completely. There was a guy on Nifty, quite a well-known artist, and I can't remember his name, but he was like quite open about it, and he was on Nifty Gateway and everything, and they kicked him off because he was so blasé about it. But it was fascinating. But like that moment's past now, and I think that like 95% of these projects are just going to go to shit, right? And there's going to be, in amongst all of that, you've got your Amazons and your Facebooks and your Netflix and those unicorns that are looking to build, like, it's not like the quick buck that they're trying to make. There are long-term goals involved. Those are the projects you've got to fish out. And I guess that's why building communities around whatever project you're going to do is so important. It's super important because the thing is, like, I think that moment of like just putting bullshit on OpenSea and hoping that it's going to sell for like $100,000.
We're past that. Yeah, we kind of get past that.
It's definitely past that. It's way past that. When your mom starts asking you about like, are you Jordan? Can you tell me about NFTs? It's fucking done. Everybody.
That's how you know. I'm gonna start using it as an indicator. Oh,
well,
my
it's
mom asked
true,
me.
yeah. Or your hairdresser, like and
Uber driver.
Yeah, well, exactly. The time's gone for that. But like, can we just talk a little bit about like, different applications in the creative space for NFTs? Like, what opportunities you see in that space?
Yeah. No. There's some really cool stuff happening. I have a friend. His name's Vaughn. He's working on trying to bridge the gap between physical and digital with NFTs.
Yeah.
So like, there's this kind of like creating digital twins of physical objects. I think is a really interesting space in the NFT world. Like, imagine you own like 5 of 5, some kind of like limited edition McLaren or something, right? And then it comes with like a digital twin, and that almost becomes like the verification process. Like, to prove that you are the one of one owner of this, you have to have the NFT. Yeah. And that pairing is what creates the value. And it kind of also is like another way to sift out. I think another cool application is like a way to sift out fake goods. If you have to have the NFT pair to verify if that's the real item. Okay. So StockX just released like a something called StockX Vault, and you can buy the NFT of a shoe, so you'll own the digital copy. And if you ever want to get the physical one, you have to, quote unquote, they say burn the NFT to get the physical good. And that's just like a new like fundamental mechanism to get over the fake goods, the unique ownership problem. I don't know who it was. I think it was Ferrari or McLaren that got caught like they say, oh, there's only 500 of these made, but they actually made more. And some of them had duplicate, like, it was like 400. There's like, oh, you have 480 out of 500? Like, oh, me too.
Okay. I don't know, but I'm guessing it's an Italian thing. I don't know.
But, that was like a real thing, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, NFTs can solve a lot of these problems, and I think it's just going to be the new way to own things in the metaverse. Like the metaverse, like this will be the new way to own, like have real ownership of digital items. Because like I said this in the last podcast, our daughter, like our kids of the future will probably be a lot more excited about receiving a digital good than like a physical one. Like, it's like, oh, you got me real flowers? I wish it was an NFT. Like, I wish it was like a digital like thing, It's like a lot more native to the digital stuff than physical, for sure.
I think there's so much confusion around it, and I still haven't got my head around it completely. But they like, immediately when people think about NFTs, they think about digital art, but that's not actually what an NFT is. The NFT is actually the contract to say, like, the proof of ownership, basically. Yeah.
And it's just the mechanism under. It's like what's happening in the background. It's like, it's just like the mechanics around the art. Like, art just happened to be the thing that kind of like overshadowed the actual thing. But people are using NFTs for like mortgages and stuff.
Yes.
Like where you can do like your mortgage is an NFT. People are doing NFTs like for partial ownerships for houses as well, where it's like, oh, I own part of that house because I bought the NFT that's tethered to like the mortgage of the house. There's a lot more like real world applications for sure past the art stuff, which is so
explain what, like how that would make sense on a mortgage, for example.
Yeah. So like, say if like similar to like a timeshare, I don't know if you're aware of like timeshares and stuff. Like, so say if there's like a house in Florida or something, and I want to own part of its valuation, like as it goes up in value, but I don't have all of the money. So they'll have like an NFT, which is kind of like tethered to the real valuation of the house, but it's like a digital twin. The concept of like digital twins is like another way to look at NFTs. Like, if I can have a digital twin of something, there's a lot of things I can do with it that I can't do with the physical, like break up the ownership. With like a physical like motorcycle, for example, I can't like, what are we gonna do? Like, you ride on Saturday, I ride on Sunday. Like, it's like you gotta like. There's the only way you can actually break up the ownership of these items is you have like a digital twin of it. So that's kind of like how people are doing this. They're like, okay, cool. Here's a smart contract. Like, we're gonna like break up the ownership like this. Like, Jordan owns this much. You own like this much ether of it, and like Sam will own this much, and then like he can sell it to this person. Now the value's like this, and then it's like it's a lot more complicated than it sounds. Like, I'm also like learning a lot of this stuff too as it goes. Dude, this space is very noisy. There's a lot of noise they got to kind of like cipher through to like truly get understanding of these things.
Yeah.
But the digital twin concept is like probably the simplest way to understand like past the art stuff, like how you can turn physical goods into digital goods and have that like relate in that sense. Yeah, it's really. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
No. Well, the digital twin concept makes a lot of sense. I think, it makes a hell of a lot of sense. I mean, I think the main thing is that it's the Wild West at the moment, right? There's so much infrastructure that is yet to be built out. So that means that there's a hell of a lot of opportunity, but at the same time, there's also like on the subject of like, let's talk about digital twins, for example. Like like right now, I guess you could technically go and do all that yourself, but like, you know, you would need to have all the legal framework in place. And so, for example, you would need to have an understanding of the minting process, and you would need to know which blockchain you want to use and all that sort of stuff. So in the future, there might be a company that will, like a one-stop shop, that will take care of all of that for you. For example,
for sure.
I mean, So it's like understanding stuff like that, you know, and like,
I think the use cases are way more important than like technology, more so.
Okay.
You can get really lost in the technicality of a lot. Yeah, the use cases, I think, is where you're going to really see the shine for a lot of the stuff. Because like the internet, for example, the concept of the internet has existed since like the 80s, but we're now just starting to see like the true use case and applications come through. Like right now, we're hosting a podcast through the internet. Like that unique application. NFTs is probably like a pretty, it's an application on top of something else, but now it's like, okay, now how do we figure out, I think the next question is like, what's the true killer app for NFTs? Is it simply just going to be art stuff and like people to like make a quick $1 million real fast, or is it actually going to have like true problem solving type applications, like solving like ownership and like fake goods and things like that? I don't know. It's interesting because right now StockX manually, they have a warehouse of people that gets these shoes in these boxes, and they have to eyeball if it's a real or fake shoe. Like that's literally how they're like doing their operation.
Oh wow!
But if that shoe, and they actually check and okay, this looks like the real one, and then they ship it to the customer. They're basically the middleman between buyer and seller.
Yeah.
But if you had an NFT in that context, all you have to need to know is if it has the digital twin or not. Then if it does, if it doesn't, then it's real or fake.
Well, you know, this is the whole. That's going to be a really positive thing. Is the transparency of everything, right? I mean, we've got a lot of transparency anyway now with regard to the manufacturing of goods. Like you can, by and large, most big companies, you can see like where things were made by, you know, what country and blah blah blah. And then in the future, you're going to be able to pinpoint like every single nut and bolt on a car, for example.
Yeah, like who owned it. It will be like Carfax for everything. Like you'll be able to like see who owned it, where it's been, like how long they owned it for, like what was its previous value, but like to the T. There's no kind of like when you get a used car, even when you get insurance, there's this like arbitrary price kind of thing. Sometimes you don't know if you're actually getting the true value of the thing. NFTs kind of gets rid of that whole middleman like thing of like, oh, this is the price because you're wearing brown shoes today, like like random stuff like that.
So like on the subject of collectibles, for example, Jordan, like there's only in the sport world at the moment, as I understand it, the NBA have got Top Shot, and I think the UFC are about to launch their first NFTs now. I don't know.
Really?
I literally got an email about it yesterday. Not that I'm a big UFC person, but somehow ended up in my inbox, and so that's all relatively uncharted territories. And with regard to but it's still, those things are still brands at the end of the day. The NBA is a brand, NFL is a brand, UFC is a brand. And with regard to clothing brands, for example, certain brands are have already jumped on their bandwagon, because they're first movers. But there is basically out like by and large the 80% or 90% of companies will need to will eventually go through this process of to simplify the concept, creating digital twins of everything. And at the moment there's still this ambiguity with regard to there's probably a lot of loopholes with regard to intellectual property rights.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because like if you, what would be the best way to explain to a good example? Like taking a photo of a trainer and of a Nike trainer and creating an NFT of it. Maybe that's a bad example.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying like, how do you actually know that this is paired to the physical thing still?
Not necessarily paired to the physical thing, but like, there's a lot that you could do as an individual to to make a quick buck. Like to oversimplify the example, like if I was to take a Nike trainer and take a photo of that and mint that, and sell that, is that something that I could potentially get into trouble for with the company?
Yeah. So there was actually a guy who was doing a very similar. He just got sued by Hermes, I think, for doing this. Like he was like, there's nothing they can't really do anything about it, honestly. But Hermes was trying to sue someone that was making like 3D models of their bags and then minting those.
Right.
And I think he actually took the cease and desist letter and then minted the letter as an NFT, just like as like a troll. Like, he's just like, look at this, guys. I got sued. This is now an NFT. Like, which is real hilarious.
God.
Like,
wow.
Yeah. So there's really nothing you can do about it because it's like it's so like gray area. Like it's such a new space too, like no one, I personally don't have the answer. Like I just have like opinions and thoughts, with a lot of this stuff. And, I don't think there's really much you can do in that world. Cause like, for example, if I take a picture of my car or something, right? Like I don't know, like a Toyota or whatever. And I post it on the internet and then I'm like selling pictures of my car. Like, is that also like IP infringement? It's like, I technically bought the car, or like I put in the work to like make it unique, I guess. It's like mine, but then, like who truly owns that photo at the end of the day? It's like, we've had the same conversation with like AI stuff. Like, if AI is trained on a bunch of data that's someone else's sketches, the things it comes up with, is it truly its own, or is it like a collection of like everyone else's thoughts and it's like reproducing it in a way? So it's a gray area for sure. That's like not really too concrete on the rules, I guess. But a good question for sure, because I don't know how that's going to work out in the future. It's an interesting world we're entering where you can like, we'd have never thought this. Like I saw an article the other day that someone was on autopilot in this Tesla and he accidentally killed 2 people. And I was like, okay, is he in fault for manslaughter, or is it like the car was driving, So it's like, well, like whose fault is it? It's like kind of that, obviously a way different scenario, but like I'm just saying in the context of like a third party, you're entering, when a third entity enters it that was neither one or the humans, it's like what happens? Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Well,
NFT is a similar thing. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, it's
really cool though. Yeah.
It is. Have you minted anything yourself?
Yeah. I've like, so I haven't really I minted like one thing. It didn't really do okay. It was like, I was trying to like start these like supercar trading cards.
I saw that.
Like,
yes.
Yeah. So I minted that.
They look cool though. They look really cool.
Yeah. It was like something I just did like over a week. This was like beginning of the hype train. It was like crazy hype train. And I was just trying to like ride the train. And I had more success buying and selling NFTs than actually minting my own. Okay. So there's like a few, like Foundation. I don't know if you heard of Foundation.
I have, yes.
I got a few. You have to actually get like invited to get on the application. So like I got a Foundation invite, and then I was just really into like ciphering through Twitter, and then like trying to find like an eye for like an artist that's like up and coming. He doesn't have like a lot of followers, but he has the potential. and then yeah, buying his NFTs at low prices, and then later just selling them, and then I started doing Vizcom full time, so I didn't have time to like keep doing that kind of stuff. But when I was like working in day job stuff, I was like, yeah, for sure, just like buying and selling NFTs like just for fun on my free time.
How long were you holding them for?
Sometimes really not that long, like a week. Like just like sometimes it would be like a few days or like a month or so. Not that long, honestly. This space is very narrative driven and super like hype and no hype, up and down, and it's come and go. It's very reminiscent of the internet bubble days where you had a company barbecue.com that sold for like millions of dollars, but they didn't really have a product. They just had like a cool domain name that said barbecue.com.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very reminiscent of that world. Like you said, we're slowly getting out of that a little bit, where you have to have an actual story, some kind of like a campaign behind it. It needs to have more of a effort put into it. But yeah, there's still a little bit of like fuzziness going on. Like, dude, some people will literally like mint an NFT, call their friend and be like, yo, let's buy and sell my own NFT amongst each other, pump up the price until someone who's not one of us buys it, and then we'll split the profits. Like, people do this all the time. It's crazy.
Oh shit, yeah, I guess it is, yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, don't do this, guys. Like, anyone watching this, do not do that. That's like not
no.
Cool.
It's a very shit idea. It's a very
yeah.
shit
Don't
idea.
do that.
What in your opinion makes a project valuable? Obviously, scarcity, but like, you know, you could tomorrow, as an unknown entity, go like, I'm only going to do this one of one, but you know, who gives a shit? You know, like
yeah. No, it's definitely. It's the story and the name of the person. Like, the person behind it, I think, is sometimes way more valuable than the actual art piece.
Okay.
Like, for example, like, why is a Banksy piece so expensive or so successful? Is because we're more so obsessed with him than the actual artwork. We're like, the mystery behind like, who is Banksy, and like, why doesn't he ever show himself? Like, there's this guy on Twitter, his name's Pac. He's like one of the most famous NFT artists, and he kind of just more so made a name for himself on Twitter, showing his artwork, and like, kind of like, nobody knows who this guy is. He's kind of leveraging that mysterious factor. And yeah, some of his pieces go for like 400K, 300K, like, Jesus. These like gifs of like these kind of like organic like shapes doing these kind of loops and stuff. And I think it's creating that compelling story that and the wow factor. It creates a kind of like a wow factor behind it. Like, I don't know if you've seen the piece of like the banana taped on a canvas in a museum.
Yeah. I saw there was a guy that ate it as well.
Oh yeah. Wait, really?
I'm not even joking. He went in and he watched everybody queuing up to it, and he went up to it. He pulled, because it was a banana with a piece of duct tape stuck across it, and he got into a lot of shit for it. And I think he might have even been sued. But
oh my gosh. Hey, now it's probably worth even more.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, like that. I think it's really about the artist and the story. Like, people that already have a following and are known artists and stuff, it's very easy for them to make successful NFTs. But if you're just like a new guy, like, you got to make a name for yourself first. It's way more similar to like musicians. Like, a lot of musicians, you could say like, I can play the guitar better than like, I don't know, like someone that's really famous right now, but like, they're more so famous more beyond than the music. It's like them, like the person and their persona and like that kind of stuff. It's weird. Obviously, it shouldn't be that way. I mean, but art is very subjective, so it's kind of hard to say what art is better than the other.
So what is the? I still don't understand why the fuck you have to be in Twitter and fucking Discord. Like, what is it about those two places?
Yeah,
because it makes
Twitter and Discord.
Dude, it makes no sense. I mean, it's like Twitter specifically. It's like, okay, yes, you can share pictures there, but it's not a.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Why is that the community?
Discord is an amazing application. Discord more so, I think, because it's the easiest place for a community to come together and instantly start like interacting with each other. Everything else is kind of like limited to the comment section, like. And I feel like Discord is just it's a community first application that's just like a lot more akin to like the way that NFTs even work, and when you want to structure the way you want to structure a community, NFT or Discord has the rails in place that makes that a lot more compelling than trying to do that on Instagram, through emails, newsletters, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot more real time as well. Like you can literally right now, I can go on my Discord, at everyone will get a notification, and we can start chatting right away. Twitter as well. Twitter is like Jack Dorsey always says, Twitter is basically a live feed of a stream of consciousness of the world. It's like a stream of consciousness of the world. And it's like that stream kind of live, like reactive, like real time feeling is not really created in places like Instagram is very curated. You can prep what you're trying to say. You can do a lot of modifications to things before you actually put it out. Twitter, 140 characters. This is it. Even though that has nothing to do with exactly what NFTs are, but it's that kind of spirit behind those kind of actions that I think is very compelling for something like decentralized applications, NFTs. Like Discord and Twitter are more so like community stuff versus like a Facebook or Instagram. Yeah.
Okay, Twitter, we'll park that for a second, but with Discord, is it kind of like, it feels to me, because I shouldn't really say this because the company that I'm working with is likes to use it, so I don't spend that much time on it, but is it a lot similar to like what chat rooms used to be like in the early days of the internet?
Yeah, like AIM and stuff.
Yeah, we like in IRC, internet real.
Yeah, IRC. I don't remember using
chat.
IRC, but like I've heard of it. Like I know exactly what it is. Yeah, it's basically like the closest thing to IRC or forums. I don't know if you remember internet forums.
No. Forums. Yes. Yeah.
You had like threads and like all that kind of stuff. It's like the closest version to that, the modern day version of that. I would say. I love Discord. It's like the application to be.
Is it really like what? How do I get into it? I don't like.
Yeah, the way I got into Discord is with crypto. Actually, back in like 2017, it's finding unique communities of people that are interested in the same thing as you is very easy. It's like it's really easy to engage into like groups and like finding like-minded people, which is dangerous. Obviously, we've seen, but it's just an easy way to create a community, segment that community in their interest, and then communicate to all of them. And you can have moderators, you can have like different roles within those communities. So like in my channel or in my server, we have like the Vizcom team, and then we have like our Vizcom mods, and then we have like people that are subscribers, and like they have those different roles, similar to like Patreon. And then it kind of it's almost like you're gamifying community building by doing this. You can have like little things inside of Discord that like people have to do certain actions to level up. So you have to like, you have to chat this many times in this channel to be able to do XYZ, or you can like distribute rewards. And people do this for NFTs. Like they'll kind of incentivize people to interact with the Discord channel and then reward them with NFTs. It's like, if you guys can, whoever's been a member here the longest and has the most chats amongst other people gets this NFT. And it kind of drives people to like engage with your community more because there's a reward at the end. There's a function and then there's a reward. Discord has a lot of these kind of like mechanisms that allow you to do this.
That feels like a lot. I mean, without the NFT element, it feels a lot like IRC was back in the day. I mean, it was like there was a real buzz about it, and it was a real sociable thing as well. Like I remember, you know, the internet was bullshit in those days, and I mean, in some ways, I mean, life was better. Life was a lot more simple then, obviously, but it felt really sociable. You know, like you would like a Sunday night, you could log in and you could like, I don't know, all your buddies would be there, and you could chat. It
was amazing. And during those times, it was almost weird to put your first and last name on the internet. Like you were almost like looked at kind of like crazy if you put like your
you had to have a what was it called?
Like a username.
Yeah, but there was a game. There was a name. There was a specific a name. For it.
In the IRC world.
It was.
I forget what it's called. I know what you're talking about though.
No, I can't. The word will come to me. But you had like a nick. They used to call it a nick, like short for nicknames. It's like what's your nick? So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and there were people like, there were a lot of people were just like totally anonymous, and I think that that's kind of what the NFT space is going into now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we're almost like we've gone full 180, like 360 again. We're like back to where we started, where anonymity, I can't English it, whatever anonymous, yeah, is like almost playing as like a value add in this sense. Like being anonymous now is more so a better thing in the NFT space, but it goes both ways, honestly. Like if you're really out there and you're loud and you're kind of like for example, Beeple. I don't know if you've heard of Beeple. He
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like the guy.
100%. Explain to everybody who Beeple is in case they haven't heard of him.
Yeah, yeah. So Beeple, he was a NFT artist who sold an NFT, I think for what was it, like $30 million?
No, $69 million.
$69 million, and which was like a record at the time, and it's still pretty insane. Like a JPEG going for $69 million, and yeah, I think his whole thing was he made an art piece every single day for like 2 years or 5 years or something like that. And
No,
then the
10.
final.
I thought it was 10.
Oh, okay, 10 years.
Yeah.
And then he the final art piece he made that sold for 69 million was basically a collage of all of his art pieces, and that's the one that sold for 69 million, which is so crazy. Like that kind of narrative slash story is like what really drove that thing home, and like kind of like the reason why it sold for so much. Like if he just like was like, I'm gonna take a collage of like just random art and make a thing, and then 69 million, like that would not have happened. Like that the story of him doing an art piece every day for 10 years and then making a collage, and then NFTs happened to be out. It was just like a beautiful story, and people bought into it. And it was some guy in Singapore who bought it, like some random dude.
Crazy. It's absolutely insane. But
Dude, 12-year-olds are becoming millionaires because of NFTs. It's insane.
I know, but do you not think that that's past? I mean, I guess it's always possible, right? It's always possible.
Yeah, no, it's more so now you have to have like a niche on like finding those like new up and coming projects. Like Bored Apes, they really like the whole like monkey things. You guys have probably seen it, where it's like the monkeys, and they have like the different facial features and assets and stuff. That formula of like creating a single pose with different kind of like missing and matching.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah,
it's finished.
That we're like slowly getting past that one now. Like
Okay.
You've seen probably many Bored Ape iterations, and I think the next big one is going to be like, potentially like physical NFTs or NFTs that have utilities. For example, like those Bored Ape ones, you can actually get access to unique events if you show proof of ownership.
Well, that's the really interesting thing, giving access to something. So that access can come in any form. It can come in the form of a pass to an event. It could come in the form of meeting up online or in person, or in the case of Gary Vaynerchuk, he's got this. His NFT project was every single holder gets access to this convention that he's putting on called Vizcom. And the only way to get access to that is to have one of his NFTs.
Yeah, it's genius. It's like a great business move, I guess, if you can like figure out the utility like that. Like it almost becomes like a ticket item. But I don't know. The utility side of it is very interesting. Like we're able to like get, like you said, access to stuff, or maybe you like, it'd be super cool if, like you're basically in a club almost. It's like a club membership card.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But that also then shows like, it shows the importance of having to build a community and also a proper project. That it's not just throwing some bullshit image together and minting it and calling it a piece of art. It's actually creating something with substance.
Yes, exactly. Which I mean, all these kind of like hyper growth phenomenon, trendy things, I feel like they always have some kind of like phase of just like everything doesn't make any sense, everything's crap, and then we slowly start to realize like, okay, here's what the real things are. There's probably like millions of internet companies back in the day. Like and all of them died, and now we only know of like 4 or 5 of them.
Well, dude, when I literally, I literally remember when we first got a computer and the internet at home, there was like a bunch of different search engines, one of them being Yahoo, which is kind of around now, but you don't really
Ask
use
Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves. But then there was also things like, there was things called, there was one called, InfoSeek, I think.
InfoSeek.
Yeah.
There was one where you could text a number and get an answer.
Right.
I forgot what that was called.
But these were different search engines, and they were, Google must have been in the making at that point, but they definitely were. It wasn't a thing there, it wasn't a search engine. You were using, there was one of, I remember, at least to my knowledge, there was like one of 4 or 5 that you could use, and one of them was there was Ask Jeeves, there was InfoSeek, there was one called Web Crawler, I think.
Yeah, Web Crawler. Yep.
Web Crawler, and I don't know, a couple of others. But for all we know, Google could have been there at that point, but they were like, we are not rushing for anything. We're going to build something that is like, bulletproof, and that's got a long-term, vision and substance behind it, and with the right team as well, because that's what's going to make or break your project. You're busy doing that now as well, building a team out. And
the team is like super, super key. And then having that like longevity mindset more so rather than just like being here for the time being and like just riding the ride. Like Google for sure. Yeah. They had Larry Page and those guys. It was called the Page Ranking. I won't go too deep into this, obviously, because you can go super far into it. But like their unique advantage, I guess, was on the actual technical side of things more so. They had like a pretty nice ranking algorithm that would basically like crawl the internet and then rank the pages and then put it on the first page. That's why nobody ever goes to page 2 on Google, because it's like the algorithm's so good at getting you what you're looking for on the first page.
Right.
Yeah, that's really funny.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. That's a really good point. Their algorithm, or their product in general, was definitely superior to everything else, because there were how many other companies around, and they were the one that survived, and the only one really. You can use, I don't know who fucking uses Bing. I guess a lot of people, but like I try and delete it off my system. It still somehow pops up. But
it keeps coming back.
Oh, it drives me crazy. And I've used Firefox as well before, but it's like, dude, just use Chrome. What sort of sick bastard is not using Chrome? I guess if you're an Apple person, you could use Safari as well. But I don't know. It's basically one of those two things.
I know.
Jordan, do you know how much do you know about lava lamps?
Lava lamps, like physical lava lamps?
No, not lava lamps. Lava Labs, the company behind CryptoPunks.
Oh, CryptoPunks. I don't know too much about like the company behind them, but like I do understand like the cultural impact of like the CryptoPunks has been pretty crazy. So
can you just explain to everybody in like layman's terms what exactly a CryptoPunk is?
Yeah. It's really interesting. So I don't know the technicals too much, but like CryptoPunks are basically these digital like little 8-bit avatar guys, like all NFTs. Each of them are unique, and yeah, I think there's only like 5,000 of them or something like that. Like
10,
there's like
10,000.
There's 10,000. There's 10,000 of these things, and they're basically like people are treating them like their avatars, basically on the internet or Twitter. Twitter just announced this morning that they're going to start charging users $3 to make their profile picture a picture of a hexagon, and that'll represent that you're an NFT owner. Like you can make your NFT your profile picture, and it'll be a hexagon, and it's like $3 a month. So people are treating CryptoPunks almost as like their digital avatar twin, and people like Snoop Dogg and like other rappers and athletes have like owned. Jay-Z has his own CryptoPunk. It's literally become a status symbol. I don't know if you remember back in the day, there was this app called I Am Rich, It was the $1,000 app in the App Store, and it was just literally a picture of a diamond, and you bought the app. This is iPhone 3, iPhone 4 days.
Oh, no,
and these things are kind of going down that route of just, they're like status symbols more so.
Yeah. But no, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the fascinating thing to me is, I obviously haven't done enough research on it, but, to try and understand why that project specifically was so successful. I mean, I think it was probably one of, if not the first, but certainly one of the first, really big NFT projects. CryptoPunk, I think the cheapest CryptoPunk now is like $400,000 or something like that. And it's wild. Just trying to get your head around why that project specifically was so valuable. And I know that, to quote Gary Vee again, I think he bought, I don't know, he's got a couple, or a few, I think, but he bought into it because he believes in the people behind the project and also what the long-term vision is. So I don't know exactly what that long-term vision is and what makes that project specifically so valuable. But I know, I think it was one of the first projects where those 10,000 apes were all generated using an algorithm. And the exclusivity is obviously the 10,000. But I still can't quite get my head around why that was the thing that people started throwing their money at. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, the CryptoPunks thing, I think a lot of it is just, like with art in general, it's like perceived value. Like once someone pays an X amount of price to something, it almost creates this like ball like that you can't stop. It's like oh, this guy paid $10,000 for a CryptoPunk, and then like, wait, I heard one just sold for $30,000. Oh, I heard one just sold for 4, and then it just kind of creates this like endless like stream of things. And then once you start getting credible names buying these things as well, it's very like hype and narrative driven. Like it's not that like literally these CryptoPunks use materials that are worth $400,000. It's just that someone was willing to pay that much, therefore it's valued that much. Like if I sold like this marker thing here to you for like $500, it technically is now like valued at like, and you can sell it for $1,000. Now it's like essentially valued at $1,000, and it's like this. That's just like it's perceived value or intrinsic value more so. Whatever is someone willing to pay for something, that's how much it technically, I guess, is worth, and that speaks a lot, like very strongly in the NFT world. Like if no one bought one CryptoPunk, there would be no CryptoPunks. Like if they were selling for like pennies and dollars, that would be the end of it. They've been out for a while too. Like they're pretty old. Like they not old, but like old in the internet world.
Well, as I understand it, I mean it was they were. I mean, it was 2017 or something like that, but it could have even been earlier. But I think it was around 2017, and obviously they weren't being sold for that ridiculous amount of money. If not, no. I think actually some of them might have been given away in the beginning. I think. Yeah,
airdrops. Yep, one of my friends has like an original CryptoPunk. He's just like sitting on it. Like,
what?
From back in the day. Yeah. It's like 2017 time. That was like right. That's like around the same time as CryptoKitties. CryptoKitties and CryptoPunks were like some of the. They weren't called NFTs back then, but like they're some of the first like NFTs. Yeah, for sure.
Dude, it's absolutely insane.
It's wild. It's so insane. Like, I wonder if car companies are gonna start like. I feel like they definitely are gonna like. They're definitely cooking up something to like do some kind of like NFTs of like automobiles and stuff. Like that would be super cool. But yeah, I don't know.
They dude, it's unquestionable. They definitely will. But I mean, the question is how they do it, and usually it's. There'll be some project that will go, that some ball bag in marketing will go like, you see, like, we need to do the same thing, and they'll basically go and replicate it, and the whole thing will be bullshit, whereas like, they could really make a fucking great experience out of it, with some sort of exclusive access or like just a really cool application, and the possibilities are endless, but it's just working out, what that looks like, and
I think a lot of this, like you're saying, is like dictated by the actual the medium that you're seeing these things in. So right now, like we have an NFT, I show you on my phone, like okay, that's cool. But there's like these Samsung digital frames. I don't know if you've ever seen them.
Yeah.
And like you can like hang them up in your house, and like you can actually show off your NFTs that way. And I think it really also that like those little kind of things change the value of these NFTs. So say if like, I don't know, like we do enter this like AR world and AR glasses become the new norm. That could totally change what some of these NFTs are valued at, because how they're then the way you can actually show them off and the way that you can actually enjoy them changes so much.
Yeah.
Like maybe in the future, like we might see the first all 100% virtual like showroom, and it's like, wow, these NFTs I bought 20 years ago, due to the advancements of certain technologies to view them, it's like the experience is just way different. Like it's like we would have never thought that would have like been able to be experienced this way. Like people are buying Decentraland, which is like virtual real estate, and and that's a bet on that the hardware around being able to experience digital land will change. Hopefully, like maybe in the future your Decentraland will actually be a place you can go to, like in the future, like. So that's kind of like a bet on that. But I think a lot of it is tethered to other technological advancements that also will dictate the future value of some of these NFTs. I think that's like the mindset some of these people are going in with as well.
Okay, so on the subject of that specifically, like the whole metaverse thing, and again, it's the same kind of concept will apply to NFTs, but it all depends. Like the technological advancements will happen. It's definitely going to happen. It's there's no two ways about it. But the success of the project will be determined by the people behind it at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course. Like the people buying it, you're saying more so, like the community who's like.
Well, yes, but also like the developers and the people behind behind the project itself, because
for sure.
Like the experience, like the hardware and the AR experience or the VR experience it's going to get amazing. There's no two ways about it. It's not there yet. It still will be a while, but it's not out of the realms of possibility to think that like in 10 years time, we're going to have some pretty fucking amazing experiences in those worlds. And those worlds, and as that happens, those worlds are going to become more interesting, more real, more submersive, etc., etc. But you've got to pick out again, to use the Fang analogy, your Amazons and your Googles and your Netflixes in that world. And so like, is Decentraland that project? Is Sandbox that project? Is Roblox that project?
Roblox.
I don't know. I really don't know. I know that some pretty big names are investing in all of those projects, for example. I know Snoop Dogg's holding quite a bit of sand, I think.
And he has like his own like place in there apparently.
But dude, that's not like at the end of the day for a company, right? The thing is to try and think about this from a commercial aspect and think like, how will that make sense? Like commercially, like why would somebody buy digital real estate? And the thing is like, if you had gone like when social media came out, people, and myself included, didn't really. It wasn't totally obvious that like my Facebook account was ultimately going to be where I would be advertised to, and therefore that's what the business model was. In the beginning, it was just like
we had no clue.
Nobody had a clue. It was just like, oh, this is free. And obviously they were super fucking smart because they held off with their adverts for such a long time because they waited until everybody was like totally invested in it. And then they were like, right, motherfuckers, I'm gonna like ram you with all sorts of adverts, whether you like it or not. And then people kicked off and whatnot, and it was too late. But that's ultimately what it is. So if you think about that in a metaverse context, it's like, well, if you're going to have a bunch of people in a particular area in the metaverse, then that is going to be a valuable place because there's going to be a lot of attention over there. So you can have your virtual shop. In Snoop's case, he's got like his hangout with like his music playing in the background, and you can go hang and companies are they're going to exist in the digital space as well. So you've got to you've got to work out also not where Manhattan is, as opposed to Edison, New Jersey,
Exactly. And it's interesting how we're trying to treat the digital space just as valuable, if not more important than the real one. Like, people are starting to care. It's a scary, interesting future where people care more about their digital appearance than their physical one. It's very Ready Player One, like we're starting to ignore the physical and pay way too much attention to the digital. Yeah. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but I've seen it's really interesting, and how companies are trying to almost accelerate this, and COVID definitely accelerated a lot of this stuff. Like, sure. I don't think any of this stuff would have been happening as fast as it is if it wasn't for COVID.
No.
So it's interesting, and it's also interesting to see how fast people are willing to accept this kind of stuff as well. It's not like a thing where we're like too like pushing back on it. It's kind of just walking its way in. We're like, cool, the metaverse. I'm down for the metaverse.
Yeah. Dude, I kind of, that when I watched that film specifically, because I was kind of like looking for ways to understand that whole world a bit better, because I mean, you understand the concept of a virtual world, but of course, it's still trying to, that film was quite good for a technophobe like me to kind of understand how we're going to exist in those spaces in the future. And obviously it's dramatized a lot, but there's a lot of stuff that is very accurate, and one of the things like you highlighted was like, outside is a total shithole, but when I put on these goggles, life is good, and so if your life in the real world's not really that going so good, then you just immerse into that digital existence, and that is very scary. It's definitely scary. But I came away from that film feeling like, I don't know, excited but equally scared, and I still am. I think about, like, I've got 2 young kids, and they're gonna, that world is gonna be like, happening properly by the time that they come of age, and that's I don't know,
it's interesting.
It's very interesting.
It's really I don't know if you ever played like World of Warcraft or like RuneScape and stuff back in the day.
I mean, I know of it. I just was never really a big
it's like that was kind of like the early days of like where we're headed. Like, you're just got your own little avatar thing, a little chat box, and you're like talking, and I feel like the metaverse conversation is just like a natural evolution of that stuff, with just a lot more immersion, like something that's really, really crazy. A lot of tech companies are working on, and it's like Valve's like a gaming company. They make Counter-Strike and like some popular games, and their CEO is Gabe Newell. He's like a crazy brainiac, and he strongly believes that brain-computer interfaces, they're called BCIs, are like the end-all be-all of like media consumption in this like virtual world that we're entering. So imagine what that means. So what does that mean? What that means is basically we're going to be able to like almost like trick our brains. This might be off subject, I don't know, but like
no, go for it.
Essentially, like, imagine you're playing a game, or you're in some virtual experience, and you're in a winter scene. There's going to be certain aspects that the computer will be able to do with your brain waves to make you feel like you're cold. It's like that next level of immersion that's going to like really kind of like bring this stuff to life. And there's like actual proof of them like doing this, because there's certain aspects of our brain that we're still figuring out, that we don't know why we feel certain ways, or why our brain makes us feel certain ways. For example, like when I hit my hand on something really hot, like why did I think that was hot? It's like, well, this part of your brain that does this and that, it's like we're able to like start slowly modifying these things to kind of simulate feelings, and it's like that's like really really weird. And it's like I don't know why humans are so obsessed with replicating the real world. Like, isn't that weird? Like, why are we so obsessed with making the real world again? like we're already here. Like, why? Like, we already have like real stuff, but like we're really obsessed with like making like virtual versions of real things. It's like only humans do this. Like, you don't see dolphins trying to make other like, or like monkeys doing this. I don't know why we are very obsessed with doing this.
Yeah, it is I mean, it's a very expansive subject, and I think a lot of it, I guess, boils down to control. Maybe, like, I mean, the fact that on the subject of being cold, like if you wanted it to be cold all the time, you could just do that. And you know, it's obviously not the same as jumping in a fridge, but you can actually create. Yeah, but I mean, it's like it's ultimately, you know, the thing of in a way teleporting yourself to any sort of experience or environment you want on the planet, you know. But you know, if you think like at a very primitive level, it will devalue those experiences when you've got all those things on demand. At first, it will be incredible. You know, it'll be absolutely incredible. If you think on a very primitive level with regard to music, you know, like I don't know, I grew up with cassettes and CDs, and then MP3s came along, and you know, it cheapens the whole thing a lot. And then there was a brief moment where you know, you were buying your music on Apple, for example, on iTunes, and then the streaming thing completely disintegrated that again, and now it's like you don't even listen to half a song half the time because you just like, oh, give me the next thing, give me the next thing.
I know.
And dude, that's gonna happen in those sort of environments as well. You're gonna go like, oh, give me the beach. No, fuck the beach. Let's go into the snow. No, I'm not bored of the snow. You know, and then it's like that's the dark side to all of this, you know.
Yes, like you're dopamine tolerant. Like people, like, dude, kids now, like, oh man, like, yeah, they're the TikTok formula, and just like how short like bursts of just like dopamine is like becoming. Like, I don't even know if people can read a book anymore without like closing it after the first 2 pages. It's like we're entering that kind of like we need the next hyper like stimulation all the time, like next big thing every single time. I think we're gonna go through, and it's interesting because we're almost, this is all one big experiment, because we've never had any of this stuff in the past, you know, like our parents and back in the day. Like, this is all new stuff, so we don't know the repercussions of any of this. But yeah, I don't know, interesting stuff. This stuff's like really crazy to me, and I talk about it a lot. And the future is exciting, but also scary.
Yeah,
but I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic.
I mean, cautiously optimistic is what they say. But I think that by and large, you know, it is a hell of an experiment. It's a big experiment at the moment. I think we are realizing things that we didn't previously consider, like things like, you know, gaming addiction, social media addiction. Like, those are fucking real concepts. If you had talked about that 10 years ago, I mean, I don't think you would have, like, it would have maybe not been laughed at, but it wouldn't have been taken seriously at all. No. I think people know now how powerful it is, and how that's a very real thing. So with that, do we all wake up and you know, start monitoring our behavior? Like, you know, you realize that, you know, drinking all day long every day is not really a very smart life choice, and you know, it can lead you down a very dark hole. So you do everything in moderation. And you know, I guess, you know, I'd like to think that we get we improve our daily habits and the way we
And I think like what is it called, the FCD or FDC? They're the ones that approve like medicines, and like they're the ones that like say what's a Schedule A or 1 or 2 drug or something like that. I think there's gonna like we're gonna start treating algorithms almost like particular drugs. Like FDC will have to actually approve particular algorithms
Oh
before
wow.
putting them out
But
into
dude, that's
practice.
I think that's a pretty positive thing. I'm sure
Yeah,
somebody would counter that with something, but I mean, I think it's a super positive thing.
no, for sure. Because like people don't really realize when they're addicted to this stuff, and it's you're going against, if you're trying to like get off social media, it's like so hard because you're going against some of the smartest brains at like Facebook that are creating these like super like Facebook hires, like some of these big tech companies hire like neuroscientists. Like you
I
would
know,
ask yourself
dude.
like, wait, like why does Facebook need a neuroscientist for it? It's like
That's super
to
fucked
truly
up, bro.
understand like why people are, they like just get, if the more of your time these things can get, it's like the better. And yeah, I don't know, I try to stay off this stuff as much as I can, but my job inherently makes me have to be on the internet and computer all the time.
Dude, but you know what? Honestly, with this podcast, like that's the thing that kills me. That's the thing that really, really kills me. Like, dude, I fucking love doing it. I love chatting. Like, I'm really, really enjoying this now. There's two
Yeah,
things that kill me. The social media thing is like you need to be on there, and when you drop stuff to notify people, like you don't want to be a dick, so you want to engage with everybody, so you feel the need to respond to every comment, and before you
oh my
know it,
god,
it's like 4
yeah,
hours in, and you sucked
yeah,
into this machine and you can't get off, and
dude, I know.
it kills me,
That's like me with Designerspen. Yeah, I get like so many message requests, and like can you post my thing, or like, oh, I check out my, I'm just like, ah, man, like there's so many, like I can't it's like I can't respond to all of them. I tried to,
no,
but it's
you
like,
can't,
ah,
no,
man,
dude, and you can't, and I think at some level you've got to just be, I don't know, you've got to be comfortable with saying, look, dude, I've got to check out for a bit, and just
I know.
realize that it's okay not to respond to every single message. I
Yeah,
mean, I
yeah,
try by and large to respond to everything, but I mean, dude, you also get a bunch of bullshit as well. Like, do you get the hey bro,
yeah,
hey bro,
yeah,
like hey
yeah.
bro what? Like I'm fucking busy, dude. Like what? Hey bro what? You know?
Yeah, no, no, I definitely get the hey bros. I get like random, like, dude, spam. Like sometimes they're like, yeah, I'm like, wait, what? Like, where's this leading? Like, what? Like, hey, bro, like, what does that mean? Like, yeah, no, trust me, I get the same, the same things
That's
for sure.
fucking mental. Dude, I
Uh,
don't know if you know anything about this, but like on the subject of like wearables, for example, I
yeah,
still I still don't really understand it. Like I understand it because it's digital clothes, right? But like
yeah, yeah,
if I wanted to create my own wearables, like
yeah.
what am I like? What does that look like? Like
Like
what is
digital
the
wearable.
yeah, like not. I mean, what is the process of creating a wearable look like? Do you have any idea?
So there's a few. Like, are you talking about more so like it's like projecting onto you, and you can only see it through like AR, or like actual like a phone or something like that? Because I've seen some projects like that are like pretty wild, and they're using a lot of things like Cinema 4D, and what's that one? Like Arnold is a pretty popular one that some NFT artists are using to like create almost like digital fashion goods that only apply while you're taking the photo, and it looks so real. Like it's crazy. I'll send you the link later if I can find it, but like it's insane. Like like you're gonna start questioning now on Instagram. Like you're already worried about like if like catfishing and stuff. Now it's like the clothes, are those clothes even real? Like you got like
Okay,
you're gonna be like,
right.
you're questioning
Okay,
so many
yeah,
things now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
insane. Yeah, it's really
I
cool.
mean, those. I guess ultimately, if you look, if that's like an augmented thing, it's ultimately some sort of a filter. But I
Yeah,
think like
super filters. Yep.
super filters. But I'm just thinking like, I guess it's wearables. When I think about wearables, I'm thinking about something for the metaverse, for example, like
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
the clothes that I would wear in the
yeah,
metaverse. Like I still I'm trying to get my head around like the different, if I buy a wearable from, let's say, Adidas, I don't know if they're doing it yet, but I think they might be, like digital shoes from them. Can I then
yeah,
use those shoes in the different metaverses? Or
yeah. No, 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 for sure. That totally makes sense. Yeah, that's like Nike just bought
yes,
RKTZ Labs,
yes, 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 yes,
and
yes.
that's kind of their whole thing. You know, it's like it kind of goes back to that digital twin. It's like,
but what are they? What are they? Okay, so yes, the digital twin. But what is RK? What are they called? RK's.
What is it? RK. Yeah. It's like, hold on, sorry, once I pull it up really quick. It's called they're called RTKFT Studio. That's a terrible name. Oh my gosh, RTFKT Studios, and they're building the next gen sneakers and collectibles for the metaverse. They're like taking the big bet that like everything they build and they only exist in the metaverse. They're like a metaverse first asset creator.
Yes,
and it's interesting. You're gonna start seeing like construction companies in the metaverse.
But that's the question. Like, what is that company doing that Nike can't do or couldn't do or hasn't done? Like, what are they doing? Because obviously it goes deep. Okay, it's like you mentioned Cinema 4D earlier on. That's the program that they would have used
like
to
Nike
model
could easily download that.
They could exactly, and they could easily hire modelers and whatever. Like, what would that company be doing with the digital model that Nike couldn't do? Or
it's truly, I think it's purely the recognition and community. Like these guys have already established themselves as the sneaker guys in the metaverse. They've done their homework. There's probably things in there that they have, like insights and certain amounts of. A lot of it's probably the data as well. The kind of like user behavior data they have in the digital sneaker market that Nike's like. For us to do this, it'd be a lot cheaper to buy these guys than to establish a team, get all the PMs, and So once you're a certain size as a company, it's very hard to innovate. Like you have to like acquire smartly.
I mean, and I guess it makes a lot of sense. But I just like all of that stuff is still. I still don't. It's still completely new to me. Like I was speaking to Scott specifically about
he just did an NFT project thing,
with crypto motors, and I was like, well, like what do you need those guys for? You've got like a YouTube channel with like 200,000 people, and he's like, dude, yes, but that's like a completely different community. Like
the community, dude.
Those 200,000 people that he's got on YouTube, for example, are not necessarily well, they're almost certainly not the same people that are going to be spending $100,000 or $200,000 on a fucking JPEG, So like the crypto motors, for example, as I understand it in very simplistic terms, have established a community in the right places. So I guess into Discord and Twitter and all that. But not only that, they've also got like the team, people that can do the smart contracts and all the legal shit, and it's all done properly.
There's a lot of upfront stuff that they've already figured out that I think is like the value proposition for Nike there, because they don't it just takes way too much like time and like energy to do that. I'm just like imagining Nike trying to like put together a team and like break into this, and they're like, dang it, like that didn't work.
Right.
But I'm so sorry. I have a hard stop at 1:30. I am so sorry.
Oh, dude, no problem. No. We've gone on loads. Jordan, dude, thank you so much for your time. It was awesome. I really enjoyed speaking to you. Good luck with everything, and we'll chat soon.